I book with Marriott Bonvoy, official hotel partner of the NCAA and U.S. Soccer, with a portfolio of brands offering different comforts like complimentary breakfast at select hotels. There's an option that fits Marriott Bonvoy, where game day checks in. Welcome to Marriott Bonvoy, by the way, a part of the show now. I have a hotel coming up in the very near future with Marriott, and that's where I book now with Marriott. And I've been booking there, and I have the Bonvoy points and everything like that. It's great.
So what you're saying is you got the Marriott hookup?
No, I booked enough with Marriott that you get the points of Bonvoy. So you can, that's a whole point system. You got to just make sure you go on their website, which I do.
You love points.
Oh, God, I love the Marriott Bonvoy points. It's tremendous. So, yeah, got one in the very near future coming up here with Marriott. All right, so we just left off A.J. Brown. You asked a question about A.J. Brown. So in the midst of the selection show yesterday, as Duke is the number 1 overall seed, their East region, it's impossible. Miami of Ohio did get in. St. John's is probably too low in terms of their seeding at the 5 seed. You have 10 SEC teams. Those are some of the storylines. World Baseball Classic, we've been talking about it. If you missed any of it, go back, listen on the podcast. Right after 6 a.m. Eastern, the United States wins on a called third strike against Dominican Republic. They move on here. Falcons are walking themselves into a quarterback controversy, which I think they kind of want to have both guys really try to compete, the two lefties with Penix Jr. and Tua. And then amidst all of this, Dallas Goedert re-signs tight end with the Eagles.
Yes.
Okay, that in itself is a story. He was great for them last year. But the bigger story is around A.J. Brown. And the internet was going crazy this weekend, and that's where I live, of course, with all kinds of, could he go to the Patriots? Mm-hmm. Could he go to the Rams? If he goes to the Rams, could Davante Adams actually be on the block? Is he a guy that's available? Mm-hmm. Then, no, I don't think the Rams are interested anymore. And it passed the time that they were. And then Adam Schefter said, there's no new updates on A.J. Brown right now, which makes sense considering nothing has happened. And CeCe laid it out. June 1st clearly is the time that we're going to look at it when it's easier for the Eagles to make that trade. You asked the question, is A.J. Brown going to be on the Eagles to start the season? Michelle Smallman, answer that question first, please.
Just because a trade hasn't happened now and it seems like things are slowing down in that regard does not mean that it won't pick up later. And I am not convinced that he is going to be a member of the Eagles for this upcoming season. No. I would say that the likelihood of him getting moved, I actually think it's higher based on the reporting that's come out about the severity of the talks with the Patriots and notably the Rams.
Yeah, I think if you were going to create odds for A.J. Brown's destination next year, or where he starts the season, I think the Patriots should be favored over the Eagles, which makes no sense because he's on the Eagles and he's been on the Eagles and he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles and he's been an all-pro caliber player with the Eagles.
Yep.
But I think it's pretty clear he's going to be moved. Mm-hmm. I would be stunned if he was on the Eagles to start the season. Stunned at this point. I just think that it seems so obvious he's going to be moved, and I think that the Patriots are ultimately going to get to that place, or maybe the Rams. I mean,
the Rams one is very juicy.
Yeah, so why does that exist? Because they have the Puka contract extension on the horizon? But then why are you...
Because they were talking about trading Davante Adams, too.
Yeah, why, though?
I just think...
What do you mean, why?
Why are they talking...
There's more runway with A.J. Brown than Davante Adams.
What can they get for Davante?
After the season that he just put up, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to get significant draft compensation. I don't think you're going to get a first-round pick.
Second-round pick?
It could potentially be on the board. We live in a world where DJ Moore went for a second-round pick.
So this is also a team really quickly in the Rams that's obviously going for it. They're obviously trying to maximize the final years of Matthew Stafford's career. They shored up that secondary. They're making moves. I could see them wanting to take another big swing and add A.J. Brown to this offense.
And then also you have to think about it from the Eagles' perspective. They've got to be cap compliant, obviously, but you also have a certain cash flow issue, too. If you're working on a Jalen Carter extension, and based on reports that we got from Dan Graziano and others, the Eagles are intent on trying to get that done sooner rather than later. That's going to be a monster deal. They just extended Jordan Davis. The Eagles right now are 6th in cash spend this season. So if you want to talk about reallocating resources for ownership and moving some things around, then it would make sense to move A.J. Brown, potentially get a draft pick compensation for it, and that frees up cash to then spend on Jalen Carter and other players that you're going to have due for new contracts. Because remember, a year from now, you're talking about extensions for Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, a lot of those other young players that were integral in their Super Bowl 59 run. So I would just say that when you're thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the A.J. Brown saga, there's a lot of drama, and chemistry should be at the forefront of it, but the financials also have to be somewhere in the equation, somewhere in the math, because that is a real issue for this team.
What about trading them for each other, though?
Devontae for A.J. Brown?
Yeah. Is there anything I'm just trying to understand why Devontae Adams rumors are even out there in the first place. If you're going to say they're going for it,
can I ask you a question?
Going for it?
Can I ask you a question? At this stage in their career, is A.J. Brown an upgrade over Devontae Adams?
It seems like it on the field, yes.
Well, that's it. It doesn't need to go any further than that. If we can get better, even if it's 1% better, then let's do it. What are we waiting? What are we waiting for?
You have the reigning Super Bowl champion in your division.
Yeah, and Matt Stafford ain't buying green bananas.
Absolutely.
So what are we waiting for?
And he's coming off an MVP type season.
Exactly.
All right.
And I'm still always going to have that thing in the back of my mind, worried about his health and that back, even though he obviously was able to perform at the highest of levels last year. Yeah. But, at a certain age, you do worry about stuff like that. And like I said, clearly the Rams are going for it in a big way.
So if you're Team X and you could get A.J. Brown for a first or Devontae Adams for a second, so just assume the money fits. Who would you rather have? You're a contending team, obviously, because you're not going for these guys if you're not.
I'd rather have A.J. Brown.
But you're giving up a first.
If my window to win is now, and I think he's the piece that's going to put me over the top, I'm fine mortgaging the future.
Yeah, I'm good with that, too.
Okay, but both of you took all of the rumors and reporting this weekend as the Devontae Adams possibility of a trade is real for you guys.
Yes.
That one feels real.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I did not see that one coming, honestly. I would just assume that he's going to be back with the Rams. Now, the other part for the Eagles that I think is interesting, and maybe I'm dealing in name and past and more in present, and there's some off the field with some of these guys. But if you think about the names that are available at the wide receiver position, if they were to move on from A.J. Brown, let's say they traded him to the Rams or the Bills or the Patriots or whatever it was for a first. Tyreek Hill, Steph Diggs, Brandon Ayuk will be available. Deebo Samuel is available, if I'm not mistaken. Juwan Jennings is still available. Like, there are guys. I'm not saying these are, Tim Duncan, like in terms of their approach to being a teammate, right? So there's some stuff with some of these guys.
Well, that's what you pay the head coach for, to be able to deal with that.
But that's where the rub comes in. Because you're saying that, and your critique of the Eagles is that the head coach did not deal with the current player that's there, that's an all-pro caliber player.
Yeah.
That is not getting in trouble in any way, shape, or form.
No.
He just has opinions, and he's making them public. Much different than the off-the-field stuff. A.J. Brown is not an off-the-field concern in any way, shape, or form. He's a reading a book on the field concern. That's what he is.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that we have to consider with the Eagles, too. They still got to find edge rush, pass rush help. They still have to find that. Right? Like that's still something that Howie Roseman has to workshop this offseason too. So being able to move on from A.J. Brown and reallocating resources, that can help you in terms of getting some draft capital to then use in a trade potentially, or drafting a player at the position to fortify that area of your team. So again, an A.J. Brown trade from Philly makes sense on a lot of different angles. But that's me trying to be objective about it. I'm not in it. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. We do have two on the show. Mm-hmm. So, Pat, Cam, you guys checking in. Like, how would you feel about moving on from A.J. Brown and reallocating those resources, draft picks, cap space, cash spend to the defensive side of the ball?
I feel like we've done this like every month. And I think every month Pat and I have been like, yeah, probably like 60% chance he stays, probably like 40% chance he leaves. Like, I'm done running around with like a chicken with my head cut off like I think everyone else is doing. If that's the decision they decide to make, yes, that would be the exact place that you reallocate those resources because they definitely need help. Maybe that's where you get a Max Crosby in there if you want to take a big swing, if you want to move off of A.J. Brown. And
the timeline would make sense too because I'm assuming that Max would be healthier, being able to pass a physical after June 1 as opposed to right now.
And then they've got a bunch of comp picks so they get more depth in the draft. Like I do think there are ways to supplement the team and pick up one of those wide receivers Evan mentioned if you move on from A.J. Brown. I'm just done trying to guess at this. I've been at the same place pretty much as I've been in October. I think Pat's the same way.
So, quick question on this. Who's the coach in the NFL that you trust with who's the coach that has the best Tylenol or Advil? Could deal with the headache better than anybody?
Ooh.
Well, it was Mike Tomlin.
Just give me a name right now that you
Vrabel.
Vrabel's a great answer. Great answer.
If Vrabel was the coach of the Eagles, he has a direct connection with A.J. Brown. But if Vrabel was the coach of the Eagles, would we be having the conversation about trading A.J. Brown?
Probably not.
I hate that I walked you into that because I'm a Sirianni supporter, but everything comes. You just said, well, that's what you pay the head coach for. They're in this spot because this is still going on.
Yes.
It's still going on. And it's been going on, as Cam just said, I don't have a different answer than the one I had in October. That's month 2 of the NFL season. Damian Woody, ESPN NFL analyst, will join us next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
The 2026 NFL Draft.